tell you what, it is never any fun when the weather doesn't want to cooperate. Like, where is the sunshine today? But that's not going to stop the excitement for today's video. I'm so excited. Hello friends, happy Wednesday. So very excited that you're here. It is the first top 5 Wednesday of the month, and as I shared in my video on Friday of kicking off the 25 days of shoujo manga, everything in this manga stack that I'm sharing, I have a little something with that, but everything I'm going to be sharing is geared towards a female audience. And I am so very, very excited, especially since today's prompt was chosen by my Patreon and channel members. Thank you guys very much. And if you would ever like to contribute and suggest a prompt, definitely sign up down below. I have the links down there, and oh my goodness, let's go ahead and jump right in. But in case if you're not familiar with Top 5 Wednesday, in a nutshell, basically each week I answer a prompt, but in this case I do manga to reflect the said prompt. And today's prompt is can't stop rereading. Does anybody ever have like that problem? You have a huge TBR pile. As of filming this video, I actually have like, I think 18 volumes of stuff that I need to read, and it's just chilling there. But you know, you have your physical TBR, and then you're like, you know what? I want to reread that one book that I really, really love. Does anybody else have that problem? Because today we're talking about, I am talking about those manga where even though I have a TBR pile that I need to be reading from or some goals, I'm like, I'm just gonna go reread a favorite. You know, like you can't go wrong with it. Not that's like you're expecting your TBR that you have to be bad, but it's just like you can't beat the favorites. You can't beat the favorites. So I am talking about mine, and I'm really, really excited. And I feel a little bad because I know I just talked about this last Wednesday, and I also talked about it in my November reading wrap up, but you know, we're talking about it again because for number 1, I am saying Shortcake Cake. I feel I have reread this series at least 3 times now. Like anytime I feature it on my channel, I can't just feature it. Behind the scenes, I'm like, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and reread this volume, and this volume, no, it was volume 6, I believe. That is when I started rereading my favorite parts all the way to the end of the manga. It's just so good. It's so good, and I deeply, deeply love it. Sumo Ishida has to be one of my favorite manga creators or manga creator duos. I really love how they just write their characters and the art and the emotion. I can always prepare and expect to have my heartstrings either pulled, tugged, or just somehow really, really invested emotionally into the story. They're all very good, but I feel like maybe, it's so hard to say because I just reread Shortcake Cake and I still have not read the latest volume of A Sign of Affection, but right now I would say Shortcake Cake is my favorite. And I guess if I were to say it's a favorite based off the amount of times I've reread it, Shortcake Cake wouldn't unfortunately win. I've read all of the previous Sign of Affection volumes. They're in the corner. I've read all of them twice, but I've read this 3 times, though not every volume 3 times, so I don't know. Take it how you will, but I knew that Shortcake Cake was one I had to say because I really feel like this is a series I just can't stop rereading. I feel like at this point, it's like something I read at least once a year because I just always enjoy coming back to this series and feeling the emotional impact of the developments that are happening the more you read future or later volumes. I mean, not future volumes. The series is complete, but as you get further into the series, it gets more and more emotional. And I just love seeing that unfold because when you start the beginning, it sounds like it's this light and fluffy story, and it feels that way. But then you get around volume 5 and you're starting to learn things about certain characters. There's certain romantic developments that are happening. You're like, this is starting to get something a little bit deeper than what I originally anticipated. It is very, very good. I would highly recommend it because I just can't stop rereading it. For number 2, I also feel a little bit bad about this one because I also featured a volume from this series in my November reading wrap up. But I am saying play it cool, guys. I deeply, deeply love this series so much. It is one that I have reread countless times. I just enjoy seeing these guys. They're amazing. They're amazing. And Shun is one of my favorites. He would be, Hayate is definitely number 1 for favorite, but I would say Shun is the second one. I love them. I love them all. I feel like every time I start this series, regardless of which volume, I guess not start, but whenever I pick up a volume, I know I'm going to feel better after I read it. Like every single time. That has just not let me down. I still very vividly remember being in my kids' kids, like in the car line, picking up my kids from school and starting the first volume and busting out laughing and feeling slightly embarrassed because I had the windows rolled down and it was just such a smiley, happy experience. I smile so much when I read this. I feel so happy when I read this series. So it's one I always come back to reread. It doesn't matter when, or even if I'm feeling happy at that moment or if I'm feeling sad, I know it will be worth the time, worth the excitement, and just, I loved rereading the latest volume, volume 4, again recently because it refueled that love and reminder of how much I love these Goofy Goobers. They're so very great. And I need more people to love this series alongside me because it is just a very wonderful, very fun slice of life that I would highly recommend and will continue to reread. Can't wait for next month for volume 5 to release. For number 3, this is not a shoujo manga, this is a manhwa, but I had to feature this. Bear with me, but I love this series, and that is the Remarried Empress. I talk about it so much on my channel because I love it. This is one that, yeah, I can't stop rereading. Granted, I've only reread it twice. With the latest volume, I got an early copy, so volume 5, it arrived. I hadn't even taken everything out the box of the package yet. Here I am, I'm like, let's just go ahead and sit down and start rereading, skimming through, rereading my favorite parts, and then I'm like, okay, I just skimmed it. I didn't even actually formally read it. But when it comes later this week or whenever, I'm gonna formally sit down and reread it again. That will be my second to third time. This is a series I can't get enough of. Read the whole thing on Webtoons, and I always look forward to rereading the physicals every single time, and then going back, seeing my favorite panels, rereading my favorite spots and whatnot. I'm so thankful that Ice Press released this because it is a series I deeply love. I mean, I think I've said it on this channel. I know I've said on Instagram. My toxic trait is totally bashing the Emperor and Rashita. Oh, I don't like them at all. And I'm trying to find a picture of Rashita and I can't find one, which is fine by me because, no need to oh, I did find her. I spoke too soon, but here she is in all of her prettiness. This series never fails to keep me on my toes, and I think that's why I really love rereading this series because I'm feeling all of the emotions the first time, and it was very satisfying that when I've gone back to reread the series that I have felt those same emotions, sometimes stronger, sometimes in a different way. So it's always a joy to come back and reread this and see how my feelings are going to be in that moment. I really, really love that a lot. And I know I've said that a lot, but I truly mean it. It is a wonderful series. And I was like, for a manhwa, I can't stop rereading. Yes, the Remarried Empress is definitely one of them. For number 4, shout out to my husband because I was telling him about this prompt and I was like, I need 2 more. And he was like, well, duh, this one. And that is Kimi ni Todoke. And it's so true. And I can't believe I didn't think about actively saying Kimi ni Todoke because yes, literally before this video, I read volumes 21, I think through 24, 23. I felt myself starting to tear up and wanting to cry. And I said, nope, time to put it down and stop right here. I love this series, and I know I've said it more than once that I can just pull off a volume off my shelf and just start reading there and then put it back and feel really content, and it's 100% true. I love this series. It's one I've reread, maybe not straight through from volume 1 to volume 30, but I've reread it at multiple points where or multiple volumes at different points. I've loved it so much. I can't get enough of these characters, and it was great actually rereading a volume later on, especially with Kurumi, with Soulmate coming out next year, because I forgot how emotional those volumes are. When, reading at the beginning, I really did not like Kurumi at all. And I talked about that in my video review that I did, I think last year. I did not like her. And it was just amazing, once again, to see the incredible storytelling in this series and feeling wow, I forgot how emotionally impactful these volumes are, especially when Kurumi is involved. And with her being involved, how she's affected Sawako and how they're making some really big life choices right now, and really how Kurumi was very instrumental in Sawako's life, and not just because she is more or less Sawako's rival, but in other ways too. So I love rereading this series. I love being reminded of my love for this series. Again, it doesn't matter what volume I'm picking up. I know it's going to be a good time. I know I'm going to feel the feels like I did today, and that it's going to be emotional, but a good kind of emotional. Usually the one I was reading was it was a heartbreaking emotional, and I was not ready for that. And I was like, I totally forgot. I totally forgot. But I love this series so much. It's another one I would highly recommend. I feel like it's a shoujo classic for a reason, and it's just so wonderful being with these characters in their high school journey. I cannot wait for Soulmate to release and be back with these characters. I do have a video that's coming here in the next 2 weeks talking about that and my expectations, what I'm looking forward to, because the expectations are very high with how many times I've reread this series. I fully expect that I will want to reread Soulmate again and again just as much as I have this series. For number 5, I haven't reread some of the later volumes, like volume 3 I've only read once, but Gap Papa. Yes, yes, yes. This is like a happy, fluffy series when I'm just wanting pure fluff, pure bliss. This is a series that I come back to and I reread. It's so beautiful. I love it so much, and it is just a series I'm so happy to see when people pick up and they really, really enjoy it, because seeing this wholesome, precious little family just have their everyday shenanigans is really touching. And again, it just makes me smile. It's very much like Play It Cool, guys, in that sense. It's slice of life. The chapters really aren't connected. You just read it, you see the cuteness, the funness, and you're just like, I feel better. I feel happy. And that's exactly what this series does for me. I don't know fully what else to say about it because it doesn't have that overarching plot. Even with volume 3, we're still not seeing a bigger plot, unless you want to say coworker chapters, which I really enjoy. And I gushed about that in my November reading wrap up as well for volume 3. I have loved seeing that. And I love this series, and it's another happy read for me that just makes me feel great. And that's why I enjoy rereading it. For an honorable mention, I'm going to say another manual, and that's my Secretly Hot Husband. I have definitely recently, since I read the series for the first time, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I have been rereading it, and I love it. I love it so much. It is so good. I can't get enough of the characters, the art, and just how kick butt our main girl is. There are so many wonderful things about the series, and it was so rich and engaging, and I honestly cannot wait to reread this physically as well. Like, this is definitely a series that it's going to be on my pile of, like, you know what, I want to just reread something I already know and love. Like, that's the one. That is the one I'm gonna reread and pick it up, and that's exactly basically what I've been doing, just digitally right now since it's not physically out yet. But I will admit, I love all the kiss scenes, and it took like so long for us to get the first one. It was totally worth it though, but it took us so long. Recently reread the building up to it. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. It was so good. It was very much worth it, and very much loving reading it just as much as I did the first time. I got tongue-tied in my excitement there. But it is wonderful, and I knew that was like the first thing that came to mind when I thought of manhwa and manga that I wanted to talk about was My Secretly Hot Husband has to be included. It has to be mentioned and listed because it is a wonderful fantasy, slow burn, isekai kind of story that has so many layers, and it has been absolutely wonderful to reread that again. And that, my friends, wraps up all of my picks that I'm going to spotlight. I'm sure that there's others, but I try to think of things I recently reread, and not like reread once and that was it. But these are series I can't get enough of. Reread them often, will choose them over my physical TBR pile. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some manga or manhwa that you often reread? They're like, forget your TBR, this is what I want. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!